The stars were quiet that night over Outpost. Commander stood near the large window of the control room, looking at the peaceful darkness of space. He was a tall man with tired eyes. He had served humanity for 20 years and he had never seen real war. The galaxy was big and humans were still new to it. They had only left Earth 200 years ago. Outpost was a small colony on the edge of human space. It had 3,000 people living there. Families, scientists, miners, and soldiers all called it home. It was not an important place. It was just a small dot in the endless universe. That is why no one expected what happened next. Lieutenant was checking the communication systems when she saw it first. Her screen showed something strange. There were lights moving toward them, not one or two lights, hundreds of them. She blinked and looked again. The lights were getting bigger. "Commander," she said, her voice shaking a little, "we have incoming ships, many of them." Walked to her station. He looked at the screen. His face became hard like stone. He had read about the Empire in old reports. They were an alien race that controlled a large part of the galaxy. They had conquered many worlds. They believed they were the strongest species in existence. And now their fleet was coming to Outpost. "How many ships?" asked. Counted them. Her hands were trembling. 200 warships, Commander, maybe more. Closed his eyes for a moment. 200 warships against one small outpost. They had only 50 soldiers and 10 small defense ships. This was not a battle. This was an execution. The alarms started screaming. Red lights filled every room of the outpost. People woke up from their sleep. Children cried. Parents held them close. Everyone knew something terrible was coming. In the command center, opened a communication channel to all citizens. His voice was calm, even though his heart was beating fast. "This is Commander. We are about to be attacked by an alien fleet. I need all civilians to move to the underground shelters immediately. Soldiers, report to your stations. May we all find strength today." The fleet stopped just outside the outpost's defense range. Their flagship was massive. It was black and shaped like a giant blade. On its bridge, Admiral watched the tiny human colony with amusement. He was a tall creature with skin and 4 arms. His eyes were like black glass. "Such a small place," said to his officers. "The humans built this little nest so far from there. They are either brave or foolish." "Should we offer them surrender, Admiral?" one officer asked. Laughed. It was a cold, ugly sound. "No, do not negotiate with lesser species. We take what we want. Destroy the colony. Leave no survivors. Let this be a message to all humans." The first missiles launched from the ships. They flew through space like angry fireflies. Watched them on her screen. Her heart stopped for a second. Then she did what she was trained to do. She activated the defense shields. The shields came alive just in time. The missiles hit them and exploded in bright colors. The outpost shook, but it did not break. Not yet. "Shields holding at 70%, reported. Nodded. "Launch our fighters. Tell them to buy us time." 10 small human ships flew out to meet the enemy. They were like ants fighting against elephants, but the pilots did not run. Pilot led the group. He was young, only 25 years old. He had joined the military to see the stars. Now he was seeing death. "Stay close," said to his team through the radio. "Hit their weak points, make every shot count." The human fighters attacked. They were fast and smart. They moved between the giant ships and fired at their engines and weapons. One ship caught fire, then another. The aliens were surprised. These tiny humans were actually fighting back. On the flagship, Admiral stopped laughing. His officers looked nervous. This was not going as planned. "Destroy those insects," shouted. More weapons fired. One by one, the human fighters were hit. Pilot watched his friends die around him. Fire and metal filled the space, but he kept fighting. He flew his ship directly at a cruiser and fired everything he had. The cruiser exploded, smiled for 1 second before another blast took his ship. Back at the outpost, had tears in her eyes. The screens showed the deaths of their pilots, but she did not stop working. She sent distress signals to Earth. She sent them to every human colony. She sent them to anyone who would listen. "This is Outpost. We are under attack. We need help. Please, anyone help us." The fleet moved closer. The shields of the outpost were failing. Buildings started to crumble. People screamed in the shelters as the ground shook above them. Commander grabbed a weapon. He was not going to hide. He was going to fight until his last breath. He looked at, "Keep sending those signals. The universe needs to know what happened here." Nodded. Her fingers moved across the keyboard, sending message after message into the dark void of space. The soldiers landed on the outpost. They were tall and strong, with armor that covered their bodies. They expected the humans to surrender. They expected them to beg for mercy. But the humans did something different. A young soldier named stood in front of the shelter doors. He was not big or strong. He was just a regular man with a gun. Behind him were 3,000 innocent people. He was not going to let the aliens take them. "You want them," shouted at the approaching, "come and get them." The battle was short but fierce, and the other soldiers fought with everything they had. They used guns, knives, and even their bare hands. They were shocked. These humans did not give up. They did not cry or run. They fought like wild animals protecting their family. When the fighting stopped, Outpost was in ruins. Many humans had died, but they had taken many with them. Admiral stood in the wreckage looking at the bodies. For the first time in his long life, he felt something strange. It was a small feeling hidden deep inside him. It was the beginning of fear. Far away on planet Earth, the distress signals arrived. Military leaders gathered in a large room. They listened to his voice, broken and desperate. They saw the images of their people being attacked, and something changed in their eyes. It was not sadness. It was not fear. It was anger, pure, burning anger. General stood up slowly. He was an old man with white hair and scars on his face. He had fought in many battles. He had seen many terrible things, but nothing made him as angry as this. "They attacked our people," he said quietly. His voice was like ice. "They killed our children. They destroyed our home." He looked at the other leaders. "Now we show them what happens when you hurt humanity. Now we show them our fury." The room was silent. Every person there made the same decision. They had started a war, but humanity would finish it. The news of Outpost spread across Earth like wildfire. Every screen, every radio, every device carried the same story. Aliens had attacked a peaceful human colony. Thousands were dead. The survivors were hiding in underground shelters, waiting for rescue or death. Captain Sung stood in the military headquarters watching the reports. He was a quiet man with sharp eyes. He had spent his whole life preparing for war, but he never wanted it. Now war had found him, and he was ready. The room was full of officers and generals. They were all talking at once, their voices loud and confused. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to retreat. Some did not know what to do. Captain Sung listened to all of them. Then he spoke. "Enough," he said. His voice was not loud, but everyone stopped talking. "They attacked our people. They killed innocent families, children. They did not ask for surrender. They did not give warning. They came to destroy us." He paused and looked at each person in the room. "We will not hide. We will not beg. We will show them what humans can do." General nodded slowly. He walked to a large map on the wall. It showed the position of all human military forces in the galaxy. There were many ships, many soldiers, many weapons. The galaxy thought humans were weak. The galaxy was wrong. "For the last 100 years we have been building in secret," General said. "We knew that one day someone would attack us. We prepared for that day. Now that day has come." He pressed a button and the map changed. Hidden bases appeared. Secret fleets revealed themselves. The room gasped in surprise. Captain Sung smiled a little. The humans had been playing a game. They had pretended to be small and weak. They had hidden their true power, and now it was time to stop pretending. On the other side of the galaxy, the Empire celebrated their victory. Admiral returned home as a hero. The Emperor himself welcomed him with a grand ceremony. Thousands of cheered in the streets. They had crushed another weak species. They were invincible. But deep in his heart, Admiral could not forget what he saw at Outpost. He could not forget the look in that young soldier's eyes. The one called who stood alone against an army. There was no fear in those eyes, only fire. "They will not fight back," the Emperor said at the ceremony. "Humans are primitive creatures. They build tiny colonies and hide from the universe. They are nothing compared to the—" Bowed to his Emperor. "Yes, Your Majesty, they are nothing." But he did not believe his own words. 2 weeks passed. The human fleet was ready. 300 warships gathered at a secret location. They were not as big as ships, but they were fast and deadly. Each one carried weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Sung stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Fury. It was a beautiful ship, painted black with red lines. It moved through space like a hunting shark. Around him, his crew worked in silence. They all knew what they were about to do. "Open a channel to all ships," Sung ordered. A young officer named pressed some buttons. "Channel open, Captain." Sung took a deep breath. He thought about the people who died at Outpost. He thought about the children who would never grow up. He thought about the families destroyed by alien weapons. Then he spoke. "This is Captain Sung to all human forces. Today we begin our response. They think we are weak. They think we will accept our defeat and disappear. They are wrong." His voice grew stronger. "We are humanity. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We have climbed from caves to the stars. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And we do not forgive those who harm our people." Across 300 ships, soldiers and officers listened. Their hearts beat faster. Their hands gripped their weapons. They were ready. "Today," Sung continued, "we remind the galaxy why they should never attack humans. Today we show them our fury. All ships engage engines. We are going to war." The human fleet jumped into hyperspace. The stars stretched and blurred around them. They were heading to territory. They were bringing fire and vengeance. The first target was a supply station. It was a large structure floating in space, filled with weapons and food for the Empire. 1,000 soldiers guarded it. They felt safe. They felt protected. They did not see the human ships coming. Soldier was on one of the assault teams. Yes, the same who had fought at Outpost. He had survived the attack, hiding in the shelters with the other survivors. When the rescue ships came, he did not go home to rest. He asked to join the counterattack. "You almost died," his commander had said. "You should recover first." Shook his head. "I will recover when we make them pay for what they did." Now he was in a small landing craft, speeding toward the station. Around him were 20 other soldiers. They were all quiet, focused, and angry. They had all lost someone at Outpost. The landing craft hit the station with a loud crash. The doors opened and the humans poured out. The guards were surprised. They expected ships to attack from outside, not soldiers to appear inside their walls. Moved fast, he had learned something at Outpost. Fear was useless. Only action mattered. He fired his weapon at the first guard he saw. The alien fell. Then he moved to the next one, and the next. The commanders watched in horror. These humans were not fighting like normal soldiers. They were fighting like they had nothing to lose. They charged into danger without hesitation. They kept attacking even when injured. They never, ever retreated. "What are these creatures?" One officer screamed before a human soldier knocked him down. Outside the station, Captain Sung's fleet destroyed the defending ships. It was not a long battle. The human weapons were more powerful than anyone expected. Cruisers exploded one after another. The darkness of space filled with fire and debris. In just 3 hours, the supply station was captured. The human flag flew over its remains. Captain Sung looked at the victory and felt no joy. This was not about victory. This was about justice. walked through the captured station. His armor was damaged, his face was cut and bleeding, but his eyes were clear. He found a communication terminal and activated it. He wanted to send a message. "This is soldier of the human military," he said into the recorder. "We have taken your station. We will take more. You attacked our home. You killed our families. Now you will learn what that means." He paused, his voice becoming cold. "We are coming for you, all of you, and we will not stop until justice is served." The message was broadcast across space. Millions of aliens heard it. For the first time, they felt something they had never felt before toward humans: fear. Admiral received the message on his personal screen. He watched the young human soldier speak. He recognized those eyes. They were the same eyes he had seen at Outpost, the eyes of fire. "Your Majesty," said to the Emperor, "we may have made a terrible mistake." The Emperor laughed. "One small victory means nothing. Send more fleets. Crush these humans completely." Bowed and followed orders, but inside he knew the truth. The humans were not running away. They were not negotiating. They were not afraid. They were coming to fight, and from what he had seen, they would fight until the last one of them was dead. Back on the human flagship, Captain Sung received reports of the victory. His officers cheered, but he raised his hand for silence. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "We have a long way to go. The Empire is vast and powerful. They will send larger fleets against us. They will try to crush us with numbers." He looked at his crew with steady eyes. "But we have something they do not have. We have the will to survive. We have the fire in our hearts, and we have each other." The crew nodded. They understood. This war would not be easy. Many of them might die, but they would not stop. They would keep fighting until they learned their lesson. In the silence of space, the human fleet moved deeper into enemy territory. The galaxy watched in shock. The species they had ignored, the species they had called weak, was now attacking one of the most powerful empires in existence. And they were winning. Admiral stood on the bridge of the United Fleet's flagship, the Vengeance. She was a small woman with silver hair and calm eyes. People often underestimated her because of her size. Those people usually regretted it. She had spent 40 years in the military, fighting in small wars and keeping peace in dangerous places. Now she commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled. 500 warships followed her into space. They moved like wolves hunting in the night, silent, deadly, unstoppable. The Empire had sent 3 fleets to stop them. Each fleet had over 200 ships. They thought numbers would win the war. They thought wrong. Admiral studied the enemy positions on her screen. They were spread out, trying to protect multiple locations at once. That was their mistake. Humans did not fight like other species. They did not follow the usual rules of war. "All ships prepare for attack pattern Delta," commanded. Her voice was soft but clear. "We hit them fast and hard. No mercy, no retreat." The human fleet split into smaller groups. Each group had a specific target. They moved through space like arrows flying toward their marks. They did not see them coming until it was too late. Pilot Wu was in the first attack wave. He flew a small fighter ship called the Ghost. It was painted dark, almost invisible against the black of space. Wu was young, only 23 years old, but he was already famous among human pilots. He had survived Outpost, flying one of the last ships to escape before the final destruction. "I owe them a debt," Wu often said. "I plan to pay it back with interest." Today was payday. The first fleet appeared on Wu's screen. Over 200 massive warships, each one bigger than a human cruiser. They looked powerful. They looked unbeatable. Wu smiled and pushed his ship faster. "Ghost Squadron, follow me," he said through the radio. "We are going straight through the middle." His fellow pilots did not question him. They had learned to trust Wu's crazy plans. Somehow they always worked. The Ghost Squadron flew directly at the center of the fleet. Enemy weapons fired at them, filling space with bright beams of energy. The pilots twisted and turned, avoiding the attacks with impossible skill. They moved like dancers, graceful and fast. Wu locked onto a cruiser. It was one of the largest ships in the fleet, carrying thousands of alien soldiers. He pressed the fire button. His missiles flew true and hit the cruiser's engine section. A massive explosion ripped through the ship. Fire spread across its surface, and it began to fall apart. "One down," Wu said calmly. "Many more to go." The commanders could not believe what they were seeing. A single human fighter had destroyed one of their best cruisers. They ordered all weapons to focus on the Ghost Squadron, but the human pilots were too fast. They danced between the enemy ships, striking again and again. Wu destroyed a second cruiser by flying directly at its weapon systems and firing at the last moment. Then he took down a third by leading enemy missiles into its hull. Each attack was different. Each attack was surprising. They had never faced an enemy like this. On the Vengeance, Admiral watched the battle with satisfaction. "The pilots are doing well," she said to her officers. "Now it is our turn. All heavy ships begin bombardment." The human cruisers and battleships opened fire. Their weapons were new technology, developed in secret laboratories on Earth. They had never seen anything like them. Beams of pure energy cut through alien armor like hot knives through butter. Missiles with advanced guidance systems found their targets with perfect accuracy. The first fleet fell in less than an hour. 200 ships became floating wreckage. The survivors tried to flee, but the humans chased them down. There was no escape. Admiral received the news on his command ship. His face turned pale. "Impossible," he whispered. "This is impossible." But it was very possible, and it was happening. The second fleet met the same fate. Then the third. Each time the commanders tried different strategies. They tried surrounding the humans. They tried ambushes. They tried using their largest and most powerful ships. Nothing worked. The humans adapted to everything. They changed their tactics in the middle of battle. They found weaknesses they did not even know they had. They fought with a fury that seemed to have no limit. Pilot Wu became a legend during these battles. Stories spread through both human and alien networks. They said he could not be killed. They said his ship was cursed. They said he smiled every time he destroyed an enemy. Some of these stories were true, some were not, but all of them made the afraid. After destroying 3 cruisers in one battle, Wu flew his damaged ship back to the Vengeance. His ghost was full of holes and burning in several places. The engineers who looked at it later said it should not have been able to fly. Wu just shrugged. "The ship wanted to keep fighting," he said. "So did I." Admiral called him to her office after the battle. She looked at him for a long moment before speaking. "You take too many risks," she said. Wu nodded. "Yes, Admiral." "You could get killed." "Yes, Admiral." Sighed, "You destroyed 3 enemy cruisers by yourself. You saved hundreds of our soldiers. You are either the bravest pilot I have ever met or the craziest." She paused. "Probably both." Wu smiled a little. "They killed my friends at Outpost, my roommate, my training partner, the girl I was going to ask to marry me." His smile faded. "Every ship I destroy, I think about them. I fight for them. I will keep fighting until I cannot fight anymore." Understood. Many humans felt the same way. The attack on Outpost had awakened something in humanity, something ancient and powerful, the will to survive, the need for justice, the fury of a species that had been underestimated for too long. The human fleet pushed deeper into territory. Colony after colony fell to their attacks. The empire, which had seemed so mighty before, began to crumble at the edges. Other alien species watched in amazement. They had thought they were unbeatable. They had thought humans were weak and unimportant. Now they saw the truth. Humans were not weak. They were sleeping, and someone had been foolish enough to wake them up. On a small planet near the front lines, Soldier led a ground assault against a military base. His team of 100 soldiers faced over 1,000 enemy fighters. The odds were terrible. Did not care about odds. "Remember why we are here," he told his soldiers before the attack. "Remember Outpost, remember our families, remember our friends. Today we make them pay for every life they took." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the base was in ruins. Stood among the wreckage, his armor covered in burns and cuts. Around him, his surviving soldiers raised their weapons in victory. They had lost many friends, but they had won. Looked up at the alien sky. 2 moons hung above him, strange and beautiful. He thought about his home on Earth, about the blue sky and white clouds he had grown up seeing. He thought about his mother, who was still waiting for him to come back. "I will come home," he whispered to the stars, "but first I have work to finish." The Empire's borders were falling apart. Their fleets were destroyed. Their colonies were captured. Their people were starting to panic. For the first time in 1,000 years, they faced an enemy they could not beat. Admiral looked at the star map on her screen. That was getting closer. Soon, they would face the final battle. She knew it would be the hardest fight yet, but she also knew that humanity would not stop. They had been attacked. They had been hurt. They had lost innocent people. Now they were taking their revenge, and nothing in the galaxy could stand in their way. The fury of humanity had been unleashed, and it would not stop until justice was done. It was called Prime. It was a massive planet, 3 times the size of Earth, covered in tall silver cities and ancient temples. For 1,000 years, it had been the heart of an empire that ruled over hundreds of star systems. No enemy had ever reached its borders. No weapon had ever touched its surface. Until now. General stood on the bridge of the command ship, Heaven's Wrath. He was an old soldier with white hair and a face marked by decades of battle. He had fought in every human war since he was 18 years old. He had seen friends die. He had killed enemies. He had done things he was not proud of, but he had never felt as focused as he did now. The human fleet surrounded Prime. 700 warships formed a ring of steel and fire around the alien. Their weapons were ready. Their soldiers were prepared. All they needed was the order to attack. "General," said Officer, a young man with nervous eyes, "they are hailing us. They want to talk." Laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. Now they want to talk. After they killed 3,000 of our people, after they destroyed our colony without warning. He shook his head slowly. "Let them talk. I want to hear what they have to say." The communication screen flickered to life. Admiral appeared, looking much older than he had at the beginning of the war. His skin was pale and his 4 arms hung limply at his sides. He looked like a creature who had lost everything. "General," said, his voice tired and broken, "I speak on behalf of the Empire. We wish to discuss peace." Stared at him without blinking. "Peace? You want peace now? Where was your peace when you attacked Outpost? Where was your peace when you killed our children?" Lowered his head. "We made a mistake. We underestimated your species. We thought you were weak. We were wrong." He looked up, his black eyes filled with something had never expected to see. Fear. "Please, General, we beg you for mercy." The bridge was silent. Every officer watched their general, waiting for his response. They all wanted the same thing. They all wanted revenge. But they also knew that war had a price. Many humans had died in this campaign. Many more would die if the fighting continued. Thought about his daughter. She had been on Outpost working as a doctor. She had died in the first attack, trying to save wounded patients. He had not been able to save her. He had not even been able to say goodbye. "You killed my daughter," said quietly. "You killed thousands of our people. You gave us no mercy. Why should we give you any?" Had no answer. He simply stood there, waiting for judgment. On another ship, strategist Bora was working on something important. She was a brilliant woman, famous for her ability to understand alien cultures and find solutions to impossible problems. While the generals prepared for war, she had been studying the I have found something, she said to herself, her eyes wide with excitement. She contacted Admiral immediately. Answered the call with a tired face. What is it, Bora? We are about to attack. Wait, Bora said urgently. I have been studying their ancient texts. They have a ritual for surrender. It is called the binding of shame. If they perform it, they become bound to serve the victor forever, not as slaves but as allies. They can never attack us again, and they must help us whenever we need them. His eyebrows rose, a permanent alliance enforced by their own culture. Yes, if we can get them to perform the ritual, we win more than a war. We gain a powerful ally for eternity. Bora leaned forward. But we have to offer them the chance. If we just destroy them, we get nothing but dead enemies. If we accept their surrender properly, we get friends who can never betray us. Thought about this. It made sense. Revenge felt good, but survival was more important. Humanity was still small compared to the rest of the galaxy. They needed allies, not just defeated enemies. She contacted General. General, I have information you need to hear. Listened as Bora explained the binding of shame. His face did not change. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. You want me to forgive them, he finally said. No, Bora replied. I want you to use them, make them pay for their crimes by serving us forever. That is a punishment worse than death for a proud species like the... They will remember their shame for thousands of years. Thought about his daughter again. She had been a kind person. She had spent her life helping others. If she were here, what would she want him to do? Destroy the enemy completely, or find a way to make something good come from the tragedy? He took a deep breath. Very well, we will offer them the chance to surrender properly. Admiral could not believe what he was hearing. The humans were offering mercy. Not complete mercy, but a chance to survive. His people would have to perform the binding of shame, becoming eternal allies of humanity. It was humiliating. It went against everything they believed about themselves. But the alternative was extinction. Looked at the human fleet surrounding his world. 700 ships, each one ready to fire. He thought about the battles he had witnessed. He thought about the human soldier who had stood alone against his army at outpost. He thought about the pilot who had destroyed 3 cruisers in a single fight. He thought about the fury he had seen in their eyes. We accept, he said, his voice barely a whisper. We will perform the binding of shame. The Empire surrenders to humanity. The announcement spread across the galaxy in hours. The mighty Empire, conquerors of 100 worlds, had surrendered to the small species called humans, not after a long war, not after decades of fighting. In just 3 months, the humans had broken them completely. General watched as the leaders performed the ancient ritual. They knelt before the human commanders. They spoke words of submission in their old language. They bound themselves and their descendants to serve humanity forever. It was not a happy moment, felt no joy. He only felt tired. The war was over, but the pain would never fully heal. His daughter was still dead. 3,000 people were still gone. Nothing could bring them back. But at least the future was secure. They would never attack humanity again. They would become powerful allies, adding their strength to human forces. Other alien species would think twice before making the same mistake. Soldier was there for the surrender ceremony. He stood in full armor, watching the aliens bow before his people. He remembered the night at Outpost when he had stood alone against the invaders. He remembered the fear, the anger, the determination to protect those behind him. Now it was over, they had won. A soldier approached him after the ceremony. The alien looked young, probably about the same age as. He stood awkwardly, unsure what to say. You were at Outpost, they said. I saw the recordings. You fought alone against 50 of our soldiers. Nodded slowly. I did what I had to do. There was quiet for a moment. We were told humans were weak. We were told you would not fight. We were wrong about everything. He bowed his head. I am sorry for what my people did. I know words cannot fix it, but I am sorry. did not know what to say. He had hated them for months. He had dreamed about killing them. But looking at this young soldier, he saw something familiar. A person who was scared and confused, trying to understand a terrible situation. "Thank you," finally said. "The apology means something." Strategist Bora documented everything. She recorded the rituals, the speeches, and the agreements. Humanity needed to remember this day. They needed to remember how they had turned enemies into allies, how they had found a way to win without destroying everything. Admiral ordered the fleet to stand down. The weapons that had threatened Prime went silent. Human ships began landing on the planet, not as conquerors, but as partners in a new alliance. General sent a message to Earth. "The war is over. They have surrendered completely. They are now bound to us forever. We have achieved justice for our fallen." He paused, thinking about his daughter one last time. "We have won, but let us never forget the cost." On Earth, people gathered in the streets to celebrate, but it was a quiet celebration. They had won the war, but they had lost so much. Families mourned their dead. Communities remembered those who would never come home. The victory was real, but the price had been terrible. Pilot Wu returned to his quarters after the ceremony. He was alone for the first time in months. He sat on his bed and looked at a photograph. It showed a young woman with bright eyes and a beautiful smile. She had been on outpost. She had died in the first attack. "We won," he whispered to the photograph. "I hope you can see us. I hope you are proud." A tear rolled down his cheek. Then another. The war was over, but the healing would take much longer. The Galactic Council met once every 10 years on a neutral station called the Ring of Stars. Representatives from over 500 species gathered there to discuss politics, trade, and the future of the galaxy. For most of history, humans had never been invited. They were considered too young, too small, too unimportant. This year was different. Ambassador Aura walked through the massive hall of the council, feeling the eyes of 1,000 aliens upon her. She was a calm woman with silver-streaked black hair and steady eyes. She had spent her life learning about other cultures, other languages, and other ways of thinking. Now she would speak for all of humanity. The hall was enormous, filled with creatures of every shape and size. Some floated in the air. Some crawled on multiple legs. Some looked almost human, while others seemed like nothing from Earth's imagination. They all watched her with curiosity, fear, and respect. Ambassador Aura reached the central platform. A spotlight shone down on her, making her the focus of the entire assembly. She stood straight and proud, representing a species that had proven itself in blood and fire. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice echoing through the hall. "I am Ambassador Aura of the Human Coalition. I come before you today not to boast or threaten. I come to deliver a simple message." The hall was completely silent. Every creature waited to hear what she would say. 3 months ago, the Empire attacked a peaceful human colony. They killed 3,000 of our people, men, women, children, scientists who were studying the stars, farmers who were growing food, families who were simply living their lives. Aura paused, letting her words sink in. "The thought we were weak. They thought we would accept our fate and disappear. They thought humans were prey." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of different species. Some looked uncomfortable. Some looked afraid. Some nodded in understanding. "They were wrong," Aura continued. "Humanity responded to the attack with everything we had. In 3 months, we destroyed the military. We reached there. We forced them to surrender completely." Her voice grew stronger. "The Empire, one of the most powerful forces in this galaxy, now serves humanity as eternal allies. That is what happens when you attack us." Whispers spread through the hall. Many species had considered attacking human colonies. They had seen the small human presence in the galaxy and thought it would be easy to take their resources. Now they were reconsidering. "But I did not come here to threaten you," Aura said. "I came to offer something better, peace." The whispers stopped. Everyone listened. "Humanity does not want war. We never wanted this conflict with the. We were happy to live quietly, explore the stars, and build our colonies. We attacked only because we were attacked first. Ara spread her hands. To every species listening today, I offer you friendship. Trade with us. Work with us. Learn from us and we will learn from you. Help us and we will help you. Be our friends and you will never have a better ally. Ambassador Ara's voice became cold and hard. But understand this clearly. If you attack humanity, if you harm our people, if you threaten our homes, we will respond with all our fury. We will not stop until you are defeated. We will not show mercy until you beg for it. And we will never, ever forget. She looked directly at the council leaders. Humans are not prey, we are not victims, we are not weak, we are survivors. We have survived everything our own world threw at us, and we will survive everything this galaxy throws at us too. She paused one final time. Choose wisely, be our friends or face our fury. The choice is yours. The hall erupted in discussion after Ara finished speaking. Species that had been planning attacks on human colonies quickly changed their minds. Trade negotiations began immediately. Within hours, humanity had signed dozens of friendship treaties with alien civilizations. The message spread faster than light across the galaxy. Every species updated their archives. Every government warned their people, never provoke the humans, never attack their homes, never underestimate them. On a distant planet, an alien teacher showed her students a video of the war. They watched the human soldiers fighting without retreat. They watched Pilot Wu destroying cruisers single-handedly. They watched soldiers standing alone against an army. The young aliens were amazed and frightened. Remember this lesson, the teacher said. Humans look weak, they are small and soft and short-lived, but inside them burns a fire that never dies. They protect their families with everything they have. They never surrender, they never give up. She looked at her students with serious eyes. When you go out into the galaxy, treat humans with respect. Make them your friends if you can, and never ever make them your enemies. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal. The soldiers came home. The celebrations ended. People went back to their jobs, their families, and their daily lives. But something had changed. Humanity walked taller now. They had proven themselves to the galaxy. General retired from the military. He moved to a small house by the sea and spent his days fishing and watching the waves. Sometimes he visited the memorial for Outpost, where his daughter's name was carved in stone. He would stand there for hours, remembering her smile and her kindness. Admiral continued to serve, building humanity's new alliances. She traveled to dozens of alien worlds, meeting with leaders and forming friendships. She never forgot the lessons of the war, but she focused on building peace rather than preparing for more fighting. Captain Sung became a teacher at the military academy. He trained the next generation of human soldiers, passing on his knowledge and experience. He always told his students the same thing. Be ready to fight, but hope that you never have to. War is terrible. Peace is precious. Protect both with everything you have. Pilot Wu married a woman he met after the war. They had 2 children together. He still flew sometimes, but mostly for peaceful missions. He never forgot the battles he had fought, but he tried to focus on the future rather than the past. The photograph of his lost love stayed in a special place in his home, always remembered. Soldier became famous across the galaxy. His image was used in news reports and history lessons. The soldier who stood alone against an army, the symbol of human determination. He did not like the attention, but he accepted it. If his story could inspire others, then it was worth the discomfort. Strategist Bora wrote books about the war and the peace that followed. Her works became essential reading for anyone who wanted to understand humanity. She traveled the galaxy, giving speeches and answering questions. She always emphasized the same point. Humans wanted peace, but they were prepared for war. Ambassador Ara continued her work at the Galactic Council. She formed friendships with species from every corner of the galaxy. She showed them that humans were not monsters or conquerors. They were simply people who wanted to live their lives and protect their families. Years passed. The war with the became history, then legend. New generations grew up knowing the story. Human children learned about the bravery of their ancestors. Alien children learned about the species they should never provoke. They kept their promise. They served humanity as loyal allies, adding their strength to human forces. Some of them even became friends with their former enemies. The young soldier who had apologized became an ambassador himself, working to build bridges between the two species. The galaxy changed. Humanity was no longer a small, unimportant species hiding on the edge of known space. They were major players, respected and sometimes feared. Their ships traveled everywhere. Their ideas influenced everyone. Their friendships made them stronger than ever. But they never forgot the lesson of outpost. They never forgot what happened when someone underestimated them. They built monuments and museums. They taught their children. They made sure the galaxy remembered. On the anniversary of the attack, every human colony held a moment of silence. People stopped whatever they were doing and remembered those who had died. They remembered the cost of survival. They remembered why they must always be ready to defend themselves. And across the galaxy, the warning continued to spread. In alien languages and strange scripts, the same message appeared again and again. It was carved in stone on distant planets. It was taught in schools on foreign worlds. It was whispered in council halls and screamed in military academies. Never attack the humans. Face their fury, and survival is impossible. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity would make sure it was never forgotten.